All right. Well, hey, welcome. First in-person workshop in like over a year, guys. Okay. We're going to try and make this a regular thing again, just as much for anything, for us to be able to see each other's faces. We don't get to do that as a region much anymore, and that's really important for us, not only regionally, but also personal growth-wise, like learning from each other. There's a lot of knowledge in this room from years of experience, whether it's with Orangetheory, whether it's outside of Orangetheory, other regions, whatever it might have been. There's things that we can pick up and learn. So we will go through the basic components of the rowing workshop today for you to be able to deliver that, but also talking about the must-haves in just delivering a workshop in general. So talking about that. So I am recording so that we can upload it, and those that aren't here can maybe learn something down the road as well. As always, please make sure you're participating. That's it. Like there's no, like we're here to learn from each other. That's the big thing, especially when we're in a group setting like this with professionals like yourselves. You all have experiences, things that you've learned from other coaches and also seen some weird stuff in your studios as well. Before we get going, we need to do a little bit of an icebreaker, and because this is our first time together in a while, I know there's a lot of new faces in new places, so we're going to start over here with the lady of the day. For those of you that don't know, I showed up and surprised Lindsay this morning with her 2000 class award. All right. So we'll just work our way around here and name, location where you primarily coach, and we need to pick up favorite Valentine's Day treat. Okay, there we go. Well, I'm Ben. I'm the regional educator, regional fitness. I coach at Miamisburg and wherever else I'm needed. I think in a couple weeks I coach at Beaver Creek. So my favorite, you can never go wrong with a turtle. I love turtles. My son recently introduced me to, he works at Winans, and they have dark chocolate covered bourbon cherries. Ooh. Yeah, so, and I don't even like dark chocolate, and I'm like, I will take that, okay? He brought them home just for me because of the bourbon cherry, and then he's like, you have to eat them, Dad, because I brought them for you. I'm like, okay. All right, so once you kind of do an icebreaker, so whenever you do have a workshop, you always want to start with an icebreaker. So always have something in the back of your head, whether it's an introduction like this, if it's your own studios where you've got members that kind of know each other, you might just kind of skip that. Have something in the back of your mind of what you're going to do to kind of relax the situation. All right, and get people opening up and talking, because you want your workshops to be interactive. You want people to raise their hand and ask questions like, but I feel this in my back, in my neck, in my shoulder, wherever it might be. So always starting off with an icebreaker of some sort. And then the next thing you want to do is set expectations. So the expectation is you came here to learn. We all know that. But what do you want to get out of this workshop? So let's go through here. I call this the parking lot. So I'm going to take all of your suggestions, the things that you want to get out of this workshop. Not everybody has to have something, but think about it. You came here today for a specific reason. What do you want to get out of this workshop?
Are we talking in terms of like if you were a member?
Either one.
Okay, because if I was a member, I'm sorry. Oh no, you're fine. Okay.
Yeah, either as a member or as a coach. Like you came here, what do you want to get out of this workshop as well?
I'm going to start with the member base.
Okay.
So if I was a member, why do we change up certain variables for the rower?
So why do we change, strokes per minute, watts, et cetera, right? Okay.
As a member, if I were a member coming to one, I would want more time with the coach without all the stuff going on.
Okay.
Kind of like having a strength 50, but
okay.
Like a rowing workshop where everybody's focused on form and stuff. But as a coach, and especially because of all the weird things we see, more vocabulary to communicate. Like I know certain ways to communicate things that I know, but like to share the knowledge of how to communicate what I'm trying to tell people to do. Because I don't know, if there's better ways. Different cues, different like things that have worked for folks, things that haven't.
Yeah. So ways to
So
communicate
sometimes
different
I feel
cues.
like I'm just saying, sit up tall like you would in a deadlift. And
Yeah.
That's what I was going to say too. I'm still pretty new coach, and I feel like I'm always just saying the same thing. So that's what I was,
Right.
like kind of what she said, just like more different things to say, so I'm not just repeating myself.
Okay.
I love it.
All right. Excellent. What else?
You know, I like the templates, and it's focused. You got endurance, you got strength, and you got power.
Mm-hmm.
But I sometimes wonder if the members, what is strength on the rower? What exactly is
Okay.
endurance? What exactly is power? Stroke per minute, watts. You know, another thing, we used to coach in split time a lot. Back in the day, I feel like we don't remember. I feel like they don't. We coach in split time, but I think it confuses them.
Okay.
You know, so
Yep.
just stuff like that, just really knowing the difference between the three and not just going through the motions.
And see, split time is my baby.
I like split time.
Split time is my baby.
Okay. What else? General rowing form is the number one reason we're here. Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay. So yeah, when members come in, that's their number one expectation. I just want my form fixed. Okay. Some of them might come in with a very specific goal. I want to get better at my 200 meter benchmark. I want to get better at my 500 meter benchmark, whatever that is, okay? And there are members that have that. And then there's the members that are just like, I don't even know, but I'm going to show up, okay? So they have no expectations. So for us, we're thinking, here's our parking lot, here's what we're wanting to get done and why, okay? So now we want to make sure that members understand the why of the rower. So we call those our unique selling points from a staff side. Okay, so unique selling points of the rower. What are they?
Low impact.
So it is low impact. So when we consider things in the room and in a fitness realm, there are two things that are more low impact than the rower. What are they? Bike, not Strider. Bike and swimming. Those are the only two. Those are the. Well, I said in the fitness realm. I said in the room. Yeah, in the room and in the fitness world. Okay.
I mean, y'all
So
do have an
bike
office here.
and swimming. The Strider is not more low impact because you have to support your own weight on the bike, on the Strider. Yeah, yeah. You guys heard the first one. You didn't follow it. That's my fault. Okay. So there's only two things that are less impact. I heard full body workout. Okay. All right. So full body workout. So you estimated how much of your body does it use? 86-ish. You can always just hedge your bet on like more than 80%. Okay? So use more than 80% of your body. What are some of the other unique selling points?
I remember in Fitzert you were saying that the only other higher calorie burn was cross country skiing. So
Yes.
a high calorie burn, even though
Yeah.
the rate maybe doesn't get as high, but like you're still burning a lot of calories.
Correct. So more calories burned per hour on a rower than anything else, and the only thing is cross-country skiing. So if you combine, kind of from the coach standpoint, you just kind of break it down. Like, okay, so we're going to use more muscle and more of our body. Well, yeah, it naturally means that we would wind up burning more calories because we're getting more of our body engaged with it. So there's your three unique selling points. So now start thinking about the things that members care about when they come in with their goals. Okay? So this is where we as coaches have to kind of create that bridge between what members have in their head from what they see on YouTube, what they see on TikTok, what they see on Instagram, influencers all over the place, everybody that in 30 seconds is trying to tell them this is the best thing ever and this is all you need to do to get in the best shape of your life. And we take that and now we translate it into this is what I know and I have a little bit more time to communicate with them. Okay? So a member comes in and they have I want to tone up goal. but I hate the rower. How do you respond to that?
Bless your heart.
What?
No, mine was bless your heart. You get to do it anyways.
Okay. All right. Think about our unique selling points.
It's a full body workout.
It's a full body workout.
Yeah.
Okay? We're going to tone and strengthen your entire body. Okay? You want to tone up? This is going to be the thing.
But also dig why they hate the rower. Like, why?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why do you hate the rower? That's going to be the number one question that you ask a member to get them to the workshop in the first place. Why do you hate the rower? Let's put a pin in that right now. What are some of the reasons that you hear from members why I hate the rower?
Hurts their back.
I can't get my heart rate up, which always gets me.
Okay, so we'll draw a line here. So we get no heart rate on the rower. It hurts my back. Okay, what else?
When I was a member, I always hated it because I felt like people were always correcting me, so I felt like I could never do it right. It felt like discouraging. Because people
Okay.
were just like, no, do it like this, I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
I don't know what I'm doing.
Yeah, so as a member, if you're constantly getting corrected on the rower,
And I appreciate it, but then sometimes
Yeah.
I just was like, okay, I'm never going to get that.
but we talk about that when we go through our floor workshops. You know, how often do you correct somebody without completely demoralizing them and them just not wanting to come back to your class? So that's a really good insight.
I'm going to give some credit to the members. Some of them, I think in their first few weeks, no one's ever actually sat down to teach them truly how to row, so they never got a chance to learn the terminology, what everything is on top of that, just basic rowing form. And so if they've never learned it, it's hard to teach them on the fly this true specifics.
Yeah,
Well, and it is hard to find that time to sit down and
Yeah.
do it. I mean,
Right.
Sure, 'cause you have
And
like
I also
2
feel
minutes.
like people who come in that are like big runners, they would rather be running. That's like their cardio.
that's it. Yeah.
And
They'd-
they'd rather-
But there's cross training.
they'd rather do anything else.
That
Facts.
trail's open. Do you mind if I do my rower portion of this block on the trail?
Yeah, which is like, that statement here in of itself is the most amusing part of the number of people that are actually asking for row 50s right now. Like, I'm starting to see members asking, like, we should do a row 50. I'm like, bro, if I put that on the schedule, there'd be like me and you.
We have some people here.
I think if we had one central location.
Yeah, that's what I was
that
thinking. Like
had-
one class.
Yeah, yeah,
And like one monthly.
right. Once a month, we're going to do a row 50 class. Okay? So, we're going to come back to this as we go by because I want to make sure that we're answering our parking lot questions here for everyone as well. So, we have our unique selling point. So our members, okay, I want to tone up. Great. This is going to use over 80% of the muscles in your body. If we're rowing properly, you are going to get toned. You are going to get strong legs. You're going to get a strong back, strong arms, over 80% of the muscles in your body. Okay? I just want to lose weight, and I know that I'm going to burn calories on the treadmill. How do we answer that?
You can burn more efficiently.
Okay?
That, being able to speak to heart rate zones then, because actually if you know zone training, you know that you're actually burning more at a lower intensity than a higher intensity.
Yes. Yes.
Well, I think that thing you said about how that your heart rate doesn't get up because you're not supporting your own body.
Correct. Correct. So there's two things that go there. So yeah, if you want to burn, cool. You want to lose weight. You want to burn fat. Number one calorie burning item right here. And I would say probably followed closely by like an assault bike. Okay? Number one calorie burning thing right here. If I can teach you how to row on this really well, this is going to change your life in more ways than you want. Okay? And to Kate's point, and Courtney's, once you understand how heart rate zones work when it comes to training, what are our members conditioned to think on the treadmills? When they get there, the only thing that matters is orange zone. And zones 4 and 5 on any device, okay, forget, whether it's Orangetheory, whether it is your Garmin, your Apple Watch, your Whoop, whatever it is, zones 4 and 5, that's where you go into an anaerobic state. So aerobic state is where you burn fat. So zones 2 and 3, 1, you can do that all day long. It's not fun, it's boring as hell. But you can do that all day long. Your muscles are actively working, yes. They're getting stronger. They're learning how to fight fatigue. And you're burning fat. So now we can use all of that and we can say, hey, you want to get toned? You want to get lean? This machine is where we're going to be. My knees, my hips, my back, I can't. I just need to be on the bike or the Strider instead. What's going on here? Low impact. Okay? Yes, the bike is more low impact than this. Okay? But, as Courtney pointed out, we're moving horizontally. It does not get any more low impact than moving horizontally. Okay? Standing up is more high impact. You are physically supporting your weight. When you're sitting down, you don't have to do that. Okay, so now we can use those pieces when you're going into a workshop with members, knowing your USPs, and they start bringing these things up. I can't get my heart rate up. You know why it's hard to get your heart rate up on the rower? Because you're sitting down. So how do we get our heart rate up? You gotta work harder. Oh, now we got to the crux of the problem why no one likes the rower. You gotta work harder. Like, facts, that's just it. You have to work harder. The muscles burn more on this crazy contraption than anything else just to get my heart rate up into the green zone. Okay? Now, let's talk about options. Okay, so we're going to jump right into this one here. It hurts my back. What do you think? Where does that come from?
How they're sitting.
Posture and how they're sitting. Literally had a lady on Friday when we were doing that row and then deadlift, low row, curl to press. That might have been one of my favorite blocks in a long time. Okay, that was okay. But she's like, I can't row. It hurts my back. But I've been doing deadlifts for 10 minutes.
Right.
And I'm going to do the hinge, curl, and row and press. Okay? My response to her was, I'm sorry, that's our fault as a coaching team. We didn't teach you properly how to row. I didn't get snippy with her in her face. That's not our job. We're going to lose respect that way. What do? Is I tell her, I can teach you how to use this piece of equipment. It's not going to hurt your back. You're going to fit in with everybody else, and that's my job. Come back to my class. We'll get you dialed in. So now you sell a couple of things in there. But most members have never rowed before. This is a new piece of equipment. They like coming in and running because they've been walking, running, jogging their entire life. But before you can run, you got to learn how to walk. And because we're adults, we want to all think we know how to just jump on any piece of equipment, grab the handles, and start cranking and get things done. In order to learn how to row well, we have to learn how to row slow so that we overemphasize the form. Everyone comes in, they start looking at the tab. Well, how come I'm not getting 100 watts? There's no perfect minimum. Now, I've heard people that say, oh, well, your minimum, you should aim to get your wattage to be your body weight. Nope. I have heard coaches say that in our region. I'm not calling out any names, but I've heard it said over the mic in our region, yeah, everyone should be able to get their minimum wattage should be their body weight.
Wasn't that a thing?
It was a thing.
Yeah.
When I went to fit service. I feel like that's what you told me.
Nope.
I've never heard that.
Yeah.
Yeah, as I was saying.
Oh, we found the culprit. It's the guy from before me.
There
Yeah.
you go.
Yep. But If we start thinking holistically, what's the problem with that statement?
It's a one size fits all, and that's not how it should be. It's kind of like, just like the treads, you coach it to feeling.
Correct.
So,
Right. If you've got somebody that weighs 300 pounds,
Right.
they don't have the flexibility, the mobility in their hips. There's no way that they would be able to do that and feel, so now we're setting them up for failure right from the get-go. Okay? So there's no minimum here. Now we also have seen some people who come in and they amaze me with how few watts they get. If you've seen the people that are rowing at like 16 or 20, I don't know how, but they do it. Actually, I do know how, and we'll talk about that, okay? So, it hurts our back, we gotta focus on our form first. So, what's the first thing that we do when we get to our rowers? So we instruct our members when they come in, what are they doing?
Have a seat.
Have a seat. Okay, then what?
Adjust your foot plates.
Adjust your foot plates, then what? Log into the tablet. Okay, you can put the foot plates in the tablet in reverse order, but those are the three things that you want to do. And then what are we doing? Grabbing the handles. How? Shoulder width apart, so basically as wide as you can. Okay, what else? Palms down, thumbs under. Fingers around the top, thumbs around the bottom. Okay, why? What's the big deal about getting the thumbs around the bottom?
Control.
So it doesn't slip.
Hurt your wrists,
Okay.
your elbows.
So there are three types of grips. Okay, three types of grips. So you have a pinch grip, where you kind of just baby shark. Okay.
Get that in my head. Shame on you.
Okay. You've got your firm grasping grip, which is the thumb around the bottom. Okay, we're holding on tight. And then you have your crush grip. Your crush grip is thinking how you would crush a soda can. Okay, you're typically not going to use your thumb on that. You're going to grab it. You're just going to smash it, right? So now if you're thinking, okay, so I don't use my thumb, I don't loop my thumb around the bottom, I'm grabbing here in order to hold on to the handles, I gotta crush a little bit more. Now we're activating all this throughout your forearm, up through your elbows, okay? So the people that are coming in and saying, I have elbow tendonitis from the rower, let's fix it.
Or their heart rate monitors aren't reading.
Well, there's that too, okay? So yeah, if your heart rate wearable is not picking up, well, it's probably because you're over flexing and constricting blood flow and all of that as well. All right? Yeah. You can relax your grip while having a firmer grip by looping the thumb around, get that hook grip in, and you'll be all set to go. Okay? So, we've adjusted foot plates. Where should the strap be?
Around the widest part of the foot.
Around the widest part of your foot is the generally accepted position. Okay? That's going to be secure while allowing you to have ankle mobility at the same time. I go around and fix people's foot plates a lot. I look at two things first, thumbs and foot plates. Some people want that foot plate, the straps way up here over the arch on their foot. I'm not going to fight them on that. Okay? Now, if you're in like a 200 meter and you want those heels dug in, that might be a good spot for you. But generally, we want the ankle mobility because the ankle mobility is going to allow us to flex and get those hips moving. Now, speaking of the hips, how are we going to sit on this thing? How do we sit on the seat?
The bony part of our butts on there. You said so you can like wiggle.
Okay. At the front of your sit bones.
I always say get the lip right at the junction between your booty and your hamstring. So like
Okay.
where I'm sitting now.
So the front of the seat.
So that my sits bones are right in that groove.
Uh-huh. And your
Okay.
sits bones are right in the middle of that groove. Okay? What if somebody comes in and says, I hate being on the rower because whenever we do long rows, I wind up with a road rash? What's happening?
You're sitting-
They're sitting
They're sitting too
They are
far
sitting way back. They're sitting way back. Okay? So what have they done? They have tucked under here. And if our hips are tucked under and we're sitting way back here, if you're sitting on your tailbone instead of up on your hips, what's happening to the middle part of your row form? You can't. It's not there. You might be able to lean back a little bit, but you definitely can't lean forward. So there's no hinge action happening. Okay, so we want to think about all of those things. So let's break it down into a drill. Okay, so this is a tool for you to help coach. So we call this a slow motion drill. Sorry, not a slow motion drill, an isolation drill. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do, you can put your feet in the, so go ahead, get strapped in, get your foot plates set, grab your handles.
Is that a roll? Was that a roll?
Those Trader Joe's tacos.
And then on your tablets, go ahead and pull up a 100-meter countdown. We're going to isolate your legs. So what does this look like? It's that Valentine's Day skyline. I know it is. Yeah.
It's here.
I think it's the Scooty inside.
The Scooty? Is that the technical term for it? Okay. So 100-meter countdown. You are going to isolate with just your legs. So what do we need to do? We're going to overemphasize how we're sitting. Get up nice and tall. We're going to lock our arms out and keep sitting up tall. You are not going to hinge. You are not going to pull with your arms. You are simply right here. Okay? Only legs. 100 meters. Go. No hinge, no pull.
It's hard to take the hinge out, man.
Okay?
Fastest time?
All right. All right. So reset it. And now row it with just your arms. Remember, no hinge, no legs. So all we're doing is this.
See, some members do that.
Yeah, you might have. All arms. No core, no legs. Go. Now, while you're doing this, pay attention to your strokes per minute. Those strokes per minute are probably what, 40, 50, 60?
Yeah.
80.
Wattage is probably what, like 100 max?
Get your body weight or you're dead.
Don't make me laugh. It makes me laugh. I know, right?
Okay? Now,
Yeah, I matched it.
remember, I had you pay attention to two things there. What do we pay attention to? Stroke rate and wattage, okay? Now, what do you think we're going to do? Just hinge. Just hinge. All hammy and back, okay? You got to keep it straight. It is just here. Straight legs, straight arms. Core day. Let's go.
We were made for this.
Looks like you did a log through.
We look weird, everybody.
Oh, I'm recording. Yep.
I'm feeling dizzy over here.
All right.
That one made me dizzy.
Okay. That's because Julian's all hamstring. Yeah. He probably got more wattage on just that one than I do on my full drive. Okay? Okay, so this is what we call an isolation drill. Whenever you are wanting to correct form or diagnose deficiencies, okay, you can break this down. And you can look at, wow, we are really strong in legs, really weak in our core, and really strong in our arms. Let's work on some more core strength, okay? Now we can translate that back over to the floor. How can we strengthen somebody's lower back and hamstrings on the floor? Oh, well, I see that you've been doing your deadlifts with 15s for the past 3 years. And you're complaining about your rower. So let's fix that. Okay? So if you go through, and what you would do in a workshop setting is you would have everyone count this down. You would do your 100 meters. You would have a clean whiteboard, and you'd have everybody's names up here. And you would do, leg isolation, core isolation, arm isolation. How many watts did you get? And you would write down everybody's watts for each section. And then you can start breaking down and saying, okay, so Lindsay, you get 100 watts with your legs, 100 watts with your core, and 100 watts with your arms. That don't make sense. Lindsay, we need to get you some heavier dumbbells for your goblet squats. Okay? Because we've identified the deficiency. If we see that everything's equal, well, it's not equal muscle groups. We know that our legs should be able to lift more than our biceps and our back. Okay, so now we start thinking, how do we help members strengthen? But then you can also help them with their form, because if you see somebody who is not hinging because they got their tailbone tucked under and it is all right here, what are you going to do? Right. Okay? So, on a regular template day, let's say we got 200 meter repeats. But you want to help Kate fix her hinge. What are you going to do?
Have her use one of those rows specifically and just hinge the whole time.
Okay. That's going to suck for Kate.
It's gonna suck.
Okay.
She's gonna learn.
Right.
Or you can take advantage that she's probably not the only person who needs to work on their hinge and do it for everybody.
Yep.
Hey team, let's try and take this 200. We're gonna spice it up today
Okay.
with a little bit of hinge work.
Absolutely. Work on some hinge work. If you're working with somebody specifically,
Or just
I would have no problem cutting that distance down. Hey, you're only going to use half of, maybe a third of your power on this. Let's cut that distance down, make it 100 meters, but just do it with your core. I want to see you go toe reach to full sit back. Just do this full range of motion here in your hinge. You can do that with any element. Remember, we're not going to change the template. We're not going to take the rowing out or say, hey, I'm just going to have you row for 14 minutes instead of, no, we're not going to do that. But think of it as a regression, an option for members. We're not changing the template when we tell somebody, hey, just do this exercise with body weight instead of with the dumbbells first. Let's get the range of motion down. It's the same thing. Kate, were you stretching or asking a question? Okay, sorry. Just wanted to make sure. Does that make sense? So we're not going to change the template, but feel free to regress somebody within the template so that you can help them get better at this. Every day you come in and coach a class is practice. We're talking about practice. Okay. So it doesn't matter that on a Monday, we're not recording people's 200 meters. It's not a benchmark. It's not what's going down today. Do you want to get better at your 200 meter benchmark? Okay, then you need to get your form down first. Because on benchmark days, what are we doing? we're just leaving them alone.
Turning the music up.
Okay? So those of us in the room, like, you know, game day, you don't change anything. You're not breaking in a new pair of shoes. You're not changing your diet. You're not trying out a new, energy drink right before. No. So on benchmark days, you know what? If I ain't fixed it until now, sorry, it's going to suck today. We'll fix it for the next 3 months until the next benchmark comes around. Now, here's what we're noticing. Does that make sense? Questions about the isolation drill or thoughts as you're thinking through, like, applying it to members?
I don't actually know if this applies to isolation drill specifically, but I know you mentioned in the 200-meter row wanting maybe to have your strap across the arch of your foot to keep your heel dug in. And I heard someone refer or maybe make the point that your heels really shouldn't be picking up that much in your like all-out rows. They should stay primarily planted, and I was wondering if that's true.
Generally. So what it comes down to is kind of the length of your stroke. So the way that I categorize it with members is the longer the distance, the longer the stroke is what you want to think, because now you're creating energy for a long. So when do we create energy as in the 3 phases of, or the 4 phases of the row?
The drive.
The drive. Okay? So the longer you can make that drive, the longer you're generating power. It also does what for you on the return?
Recovery.
Creates more time to recover, so that you can settle into a better breathing pattern versus now you can have much more intentional breathing because you have that longer stroke. Now, when we talk about stroke length, okay, that leads to a common error. What's a common, think real quickly, what's a common error that you see from people trying to get more length on their drive?
Lean back too far.
Okay, all right. So we got 2 extremes. We got 2 extremes, okay? So Kylie, would you mind demonstrating what you were talking about?
When they come forward, they're like this.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So the overreaching on the front, that comes from a coaching cue called reach past the monitor. Okay? All right? Reaching forward, that's why we want that ankle mobility. You're not going to reach that far on a short power row. You're going to reach a little bit further on those long distance rows, which means that you need your ankle mobility. Because what's the first thing that we do when we sit down? We straighten up. We never want to round out our back and our shoulders. So your ankle mobility is going to be what allows you to reach without compromising your core and your shoulders. So go ahead, everybody, strap in and then reach as far as you can. Bad form and all, reach as far as you can on your rower. Okay, and then just hold it there. Okay? Okay, so yeah, you see hips, knees are going out, hips are flared out. Okay, now, all I want you to do is start your drive. Don't extend your legs, start your drive. What's the first thing that most of you did? You sat up.
Yeah.
That right there is what causes the back issues. Because the first thing that they had to do in order for their legs to extend was to get their back in line. And so when the most tension is there, you're telling them to use their back. That one move right there is what causes the majority of all of those back injuries, is when they reach and compromise. We just got to stay right here.
They do it in their deadlifts too.
They do it in their deadlifts too, okay? Yeah, it's the rounded back, it's here, and then they wonder why their low back hurts.
So are you telling them to try to like
Don't reach as far. So that cue for reach past the monitor doesn't apply to everybody. The same way that your wattage should be your body weight doesn't apply to everybody. You might have really good ankle and hip mobility. You may not. Well, yeah, your arms aren't as long, but some people are going to have a longer torso to be able to hinge and reach that far. Some people have longer legs, they can't reach that far. Okay? So we think the overachievers, they're going to try and reach up here, they're going to cause some back issues, and then Tiana had the other end. What are they doing with them? The face pulls.
Or the holds.
Okay? We will get to the holds. We will get to the holds. Okay? Did you just literally hit yourself in the head?
Do that, like why? Why? Like I just.
Yeah. Okay? Yeah. So those handles come up high. We're switching muscle groups. We're not able to use those big strong lats in the back anymore. So even though you might be able to get more length, you're probably not getting a whole lot more power out of it. Because now you're disengaging the primary movers that we want involved with this. Okay? So where do the handles finish? Right down here. Yeah, we think row, right here. Squeeze those shoulder blades in the back, you'll be all set. Okay? So those are good ways to kind of break it down for members. Like, we want to fix the form first. Now, my back hurts, I think we got that. Okay, we can't do it right. We kind of talked about isolation drill is going to help you answer this. Let's break it down one thing at a time. One thing at a time. Now, I don't understand. So if we talk about why we use all the things up here on the monitor, okay? So we've got wattage. What does wattage tell us? How much power we're generating. Okay? Here we go. Here's the fun part. Strap in. Strap in. Here's all this. Okay? This is.
Julian looks at the water.
This is all. Okay?
Where are we going?
We are going. Oh, there. Yeah, Cambry's ready. Let's go. Okay? Ready? 5 pulls. 5 pulls, the maximum wattage you see. Okay? So watch your watts, count your strokes, 5 pulls. What's the biggest number you see? Go.
All right.
I heard that extra pull. Okay? 400. Who got 4? 5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
It was a new
Okay,
record.
all right, good. Okay? Wattage is just a flash in the pan. It's going to vary with every single stroke. You can watch your wattage jump in every other stroke. It'll come down, go up. It means absolutely nothing in the grand scheme of things. It's a good ego boost, 100%. Now, strokes per minute. What does strokes per minute tell us? Right. How many strokes? How many? Yeah. Yeah.
To get to your destination.
Okay. Tells you how fast you're moving back and forth. So, if we're moving back and forth, think back to your arm isolation drill. How long do you think you could handle that? Okay. And for your 5 strokes, what does your strokes per minute wind up being? Probably like 50 or 60. Okay. So strokes per minute are a pacing tool to help us manage distances. Those short distances, we're going to see higher strokes per minute. The longer distances, we should see lower. So think of it like cadence. So if we start translating things to things that people know they like to run, okay? We're thinking strokes per minute. Think of that kind of like speed. You might have an all-out speed of 12 miles an hour. You can't handle that very long. You can't handle strokes per minute at a high rate for very long. But when you settle in and you find your base, you could do that for a significant. So now, okay, we recommend 18 to 24 strokes per minute. Somewhere in there should be your base. Some people, it might be a little bit higher. Some people, their base strokes per minute might be 26, and they can do that for 10,000 meters. I don't know how.
One thing I would say you're completely right in saying that it should not be normal to be able to row at 30 strokes per minute for a long amount of time. Most of our members, it is normal for them.
Yes, it is.
To do that. So when you say that, just make sure that you're considering what they already know.
Yeah.
Which is like, I already do that. It means they're rowing
Right.
very incorrectly.
Yeah.
You should not be able to row at 30.
And I would say, to validate our members, we want to say, you're not rowing efficiently.
Yeah.
You know, it's not you're rowing incorrectly. You might be rowing really, you might be rowing mechanically correctly, but very inefficiently. You couldn't do that. And yeah, it works for like 80% of our days, because most of our days are 500 meters or less. And you can do 30 strokes per minute for 500 meters or less.
I used to say with the whole base 20 to 30 minutes without too much effort, but of course we'd never ask you to do that on the rower
Right.
until Hell Week.
Yeah.
And now I have, since that day, I've never said it
Right.
again.
Right. Okay?
Sorry.
So again, we want to break these things down so that our members can translate it to what they know. Okay? So strokes per minute, yeah. Think of that like the numbers on the right-hand side. Okay? Our watts, we kind of treat that kind of like incline. Okay? That watt, like, we can feel like that incline, we could do that for a while, much longer than we could hold a high rate of speed. But the wattage really isn't going to help us, or the incline and the wattage really isn't going to tell us that we're getting very far. So now we use the two, and those two kind of come together in our split time, that 500 meter split time. That's what's going to tell you if you're rowing well. Whether it's 100 meter, 200 meter, 500, 2,000, that 500 meter split time, that's the true tell. Because we just saw, well, I can have 850 watts in 5 strokes. Doesn't mean anything if you can't hold that 850 watts for 90 seconds.
Do you know why we don't try and use, at least sometimes, we used to use kilometers per hour for a little bit, almost like it was a push-based scenario?
Yeah.
Like why we don't use that anymore?
No, I don't. Other than the fact that it's really not useful for anything from a rowing standpoint. So the question, if you didn't hear it, was like, why don't we use miles per hour, kilometers per hour? It doesn't mean anything. It's speed, yeah, and it's kind of like wattage. We can see it climb up there and we can feel good, but when it comes to rowing, nobody actually uses it. It's not even on a concept tube.
Okay, I fully understand 500 meter split time. I get it. But I feel like it's so confusing to members because okay, it makes sense if I'm holding 2 minutes and I'm going to row 500 meters. I know I'm going to finish 500 meters in 2 minutes. But for all the other distances and everything, I feel like they're why does it even matter? I'm not rowing 500 meters.
Yeah, and that's where we bring in the time and the strokes per minute. So on the template, that's why we say, 15 to 30 seconds or whatever it is, and we give our members those challenges there, because it is extremely difficult for members to try and equate, well, this is what I would be doing for 500 meters, but it's also like saying, we could also come back and say, well, that answer of why do I care about 500 meter split time when I'm only going 200 meters is kind of like saying, well, why does it matter if you're driving 35 miles an hour when you're only going 2 miles down the road? I'm not going 35 miles, so why does...
I don't know if I understood that. I think another... I don't know.
So it's a measure of speed.
Yeah, I Yeah.
So
I don't know. I guess it's not my
so
favorite
when we
place.
help our members understand how that speed changes, so 500 meter split time is going to go down with more power and up with less power. So at 100 meters, you should see that 500 meter go down. That's really all we're coaching them to do.
Okay, I wasn't sure if I was
Yeah.
missing another.
Right. And so when they do understand it, like, wow, I can get a 1 minute split time when I'm doing a 50 meter all out. Oh, that sucked. Well, yeah, you shouldn't be able to hold that kind of split time if we're going 300, 400, 500, 1,000 meters or whatever it is. So so that's why I made once you understand it, yeah, 35 miles an hour in your car means something when you're going 35 miles. Oh, it's going to take me an hour to get there. But once you understand that, because we've all been driving for a while, now we understand, oh, okay, well, even if I'm only going 5 miles, 35 mile an hour means something different than 60 mile an hour. So if we can help our members understand what the speed variable looks like, hey, high stroke rates, high wattage, low split time, but we can also manipulate that by changing up wattage, changing up strokes per minute. But this is where the two come together. A plus B equals C. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, I just was
Okay.
looking for better, I guess, cues when explaining it to members. Or
Yeah.
like, I don't know.
Does anyone have a good cue that they have used for 500 meters?
So I coach 500 meter split time often just because watts are, the range of watts can be so variable. So like when they're getting to their base, I was like, most people find their base split time in a 145 to 230. That's usually, it's a wide swing, but that's usually a general split time that can hold. And from there, then I have okay, you may not find your green zone, but find your challenging but doable. We're going to use this later. And so then I'm like, okay, remember what your base split time looked like. We're going to hit a push, but this is a longer push. So let's see if we can take that split time down by 10 seconds. So if it was a 2:15 for your base, let's see if you can hold a 2:05 for this 500 meter.
Yep.
And just kind of use that as a tool of, this is where I am today, kind of like adding whatever your base is on the treads, whatever you're adding to find your moderate, conservative, aggressive, it's taking seconds off. And I mean, usually I'll say, a conservative push off of your base is about 5 to 10 seconds less than your base, and then work from there to find your aggressive and your all out.
And I think that comes down to how we're coaching our setup at the beginning, the setup and the warm up. So as we're used to have the mindset, and we've trained members for years of, okay, so once you see your green zone, look at your watts. We don't care about that. Look at your split time. This is the time that you feel you could handle for 20 to 30 minutes. Now, if we're going to go faster, you're going to see that number come down. Slower, that number comes up. So let's manipulate it a little bit. So everyone get going at 20 strokes per minute. We're not generating power, just 20 strokes per minute. I want you, we'll call it a base. Okay? Just what does your base look like at 20 strokes per minute? And once you're there, add 10 watts right now without increasing your strokes per minute. Just 10. Just 10. Yeah. Okay. Now add 10 again without changing your strokes per minute. And watch that split time. This is how you become more efficient. So when we tell our members, we're going to do a 22 strokes per minute, you can rack your handles. We're going to do a 22 strokes per minute all out. And they go, that's not possible. That's my base. You're not understanding how you're supposed to be driving and pushing off of this thing.
In that way, it's kind of like it's in time.
Yeah.
Almost.
Yeah. Yeah, so if you were to think like, if we take that strokes per minute is speed, and watts is incline, and we go keep your strokes per minute the same, and every minute on the minute we add 10 watts, now we have row Everest.
Yeah, no. I pass on that.
Couple of people just threw up.
Pass. I would start at 10 watts.
Right? Okay. What other questions do you have? I know that we are right at the end of our time. I want to be conscious of the people that need to head out for other things. Kate?
I just have a comment. Whether you're a newer coach or an old coach, I think that rowing is the most thrown away piece of equipment, as most of us know, in the studio. And so in the eval or something like that, when it says things like, are you forecasting what the row block is looking like, it's a strength row. We're gonna do power, so we're gonna go really fast. It's taking that time to say, okay, we have a strength row today. Okay guys, how do we do a strength row? What is a strength row? Can anyone tell me? Get them involved so they actually have to think about what they're doing before they do it. So I always take a chance on a strength day to say, okay, what's a stroke rate? It's driving back. It's how much power I generate when I drive back. I'm like, no, that's not what it is. And so you realize how quickly how no one really knows what these variables are. And so teaching them that today we're going to manipulate the stroke rate. What's that mean for you guys? That means we're going to slow things down going forward. The water's going to move slower. Your legs are going to have to work harder. So you have more resistance. Like actually making them think about it instead of like just throwing out things. And because the more that we make it seem like it doesn't matter, they're going to care less about it. So if you make them answer questions and you make them think about rowing, they will care about it more. So they are basically a reflection of you, how much they care about rowing. So like Kate McMullen, she's going to make people care about rowing because she's going to break it down. Like I really encourage you into this week or this month to try harder with the rower. And that's it.
Kind of going off on that. This happened to me last week. We were talking about the stroke rate. I think it was on Friday, because we were like decreasing the stroke rate every row. And when they were warming up, I was like, "So, what number on the screen is your stroke rate?" And no one literally knew. Like, I'm like, where? They were like, and I was like, "So what is it right now?" Like, no one was like moving it, and they were like 0, and I was like, "Okay, what does it mean?" You know, like it's just.
Yeah.
They truly just hear us and they just don't understand.
Or something like I've tried to do on days where I know that we have like a strength row like that is in their base warm up. Say like, okay guys, notice what your stroke rate is here, mid-20s. Can you get your watts right now to go higher across the next 30 seconds without moving any faster? So like, and then say, okay, we're gonna see this later on today. Think about that.
Right.
Yeah.
And like our guys here, the members, they've been very 2G heavy for the last 4 years. Now that we're seeing like the influx of 3Gs, people are like, shit, there's so much rowing in Orangetheory now. And we have an opportunity to really buy them in, right? Like maybe our highly utilized classes have been doing that for a year, and they have no problem with rowing. But we have a huge population who won't tell you your face, but they're like, I purposely did 2Gs for that reason.
Yeah.
You want to try and take these opportunities for what she's saying, like that's retention. Because if they give up on 40% of what our product is giving them, the other 60% is not going to keep them for very long.
Yeah.
Well, and like I'll get the question of, why was my PR, my 200 meter PR, or my 2,000 meter PR back in 2021? And I was like, well, because we were all 3G.
Yeah.
We were all 3G.
Yeah,
You
rode
were
a
rolling
lot.
all the time. You rode over 5,000 meters a day.
Yeah.
So of course you're going to PR back in 2021. So take more 3Gs if you want to get better at your benchmarks.
You have to train for what you want to be better
Row
at.
15.
Yeah.
That's actually a great point.
Yeah. No, absolutely. One last drill, and I know that you all have done it before, so I'm not going to make you do it. Your slow motion drill. Your slow motion drill, 100 meters. How few strokes does it take you to get 100 meters done? Now, we call it a slow motion drill because of how intentional you're going to be. You're going to reach as far as you can. You're going to be as long as you can, but you're also going to be as patient as possible on your way forward. And the one thing that I can't remember, it was somebody on this side of the room said people holding the handles in the back. Okay? We see it all the time. The number one rule from water rower, because when we were closed down for 2020, I went through water rowers coaching, like we all got that freebie, okay? Water rower says the handles never stop moving. That doesn't mean that the handles always have to be going like this.
He just shook the
Okay? But when you get to the back, the handles just slow and you take your time coming back to your set position. So you get these members that come to the back, and I don't know how they do it, but they're basically hollow holding at the back of their rower. Just working on my abs back here, coach. I'll relax. Like,
You said I can only get 10? I'm gonna get 9.
yeah. Okay. But look, once you get to the back, nothing's happening.
The water works for you a little bit, but
Right. But why should you make it more painful on yourself? Sit up and put the handles in your lap at least. This, like, legitimately, this is not going to help you recover for that next leg drive. This will. Chill out for a minute.
And then go fast forward and you're like,
Right? Constantly. No, it's legitimately this. They get to the back. Okay, I'm keeping the stroke rate low, coach. Keeping the stroke rate low. Yeah, the water's slowing down so that I can get all the power I can.
it was like the drive is slower than
this in real quick.
let me throw some.
Whoa!
Let me bring my back while I'm at it.
Right.
Y'all have seen this.
Watch this hair toss.
Yeah. Slow motion on the way forward. So when we say slow motion drill, that is a great way to help them again re-emphasize their form. You have to sit up, slow down, reach with the handles, and then let the knees come up behind it. All right. Before we leave, if you have one, favorite coaching cue.
For the rower.
For the rower. Obviously, we're in the rowing workshop.
I don't know. I'm gonna think about this one a little bit.
I'm
Okay.
constantly telling people to exhale on the way back and breathe on the way forward.
Okay?
The water work.
Okay, let the water work for you.
yeah.
Sometimes, especially on a power day, I'll talk about how they have a medieval flame in front of them, and they're a blacksmith, and they've gotta keep oxygen going.
Okay.
To fire that
Okay,
flame.
I like it.
Oh,
The harder you drive back,
Okay.
a fast stroke rate with like no power driving back, like no wattage at all, is like riding a bike with a broken tire. You're just working really, really hard but getting nowhere.
Okay. Okay. I like it.
I've said the difference between a speed squat and a weighted squat. It's like you can get a lot of reps in on a speed squat,
Yep.
but your body didn't do much.
Absolutely.
So take up heavy weights, slow it down, and you're working harder.
Yeah.
And there's usually a demo involved with
Yeah.
that, but we're not doing it.
Slinkies require tension. You have to go slowly. You gotta be a slinky. You can expand.
Okay. Okay. I like that. My form cue is always sit back in the recliner and then reach for the remote.
Yeah, you did say
Although I'm kind of digging the bend and snap now.
Yeah, bend and snap. Yeah.
I mean,
Okay.